say. We can do it our way. And if love's just a game, then come and play. Aziza, meet me on the floor tonight. Show me how to move like the water. In between the dancing lights. Be mine, Aziza. 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 I wanna get lost in your ocean and drown. I wanna be careless and free. I wanna live here in the moment we found. I wanna be all that you see. Well, tomorrow can wait. Freezing time in this place till the sun is awake. Be like a magnet on me. I don't care what they say. We can do it our way.
Hi everyone, how are you? Hello, how are you guys out there? Anybody out there? Okay, all right.
Great to see you again, Ray.
Yes.
So
I actually have my voice today, so.
Yes, so last week we had the opportunity to connect and Ray was speechless.
Yeah. My team enjoyed it, so. Lost my voice, so.
Ray, so let's get some Q&A, and then please, I want you to engage. Ray has very, very deep expertise. Last year was one of the most search sessions, a lot of questions, a lot of engagement, so I'm sure that today will be the same, no?
Wow.
So, Diageo has been in this transformation journey, no? On the supply chain footprint. Can you share some details and learnings about the process for this transformation?
Sure. So the reason I wanted to share the video up front is just to give everybody an understanding of just the vast amount of diversity within our supply chain in terms of products and SKUs. So when you look at North America, just to kind of frame up the footprint, overall Diageo globally, North America makes up about 45, just under 50% of its total revenue. When you look across the North America portfolio, which is primarily from Canada, US Virgin Islands, we do a significant amount of export as well. We're gonna produce right under 80 million cases, which when you work for a Pepsi or a Coke, as I have, I did that out of one facility. So it does not sound like a huge amount of volume. But when you throw in about 1,500 to 1,800 SKUs across that volume, then you can get a feel for the diversity and the complexity that we're faced with. And one added point to that is when you look across those SKUs, on average, there are about 30 components that have to come together on average, for those SKUs for us to have a successful production run at any of our facilities. So tremendous amount of complexity. So as you look at Diageo today, we primarily been developed over the decades by mergers, acquisitions, and to answer your question, we had a very complex supply chain, not only from, different tools being used, different methodologies being used, a diverse culture, multiple cultures developing across the network. So we found ourselves having to take some time and really step back as a leadership team and really identify, hey, what is the culture that we're looking for? And then how do we get all of these organizations in which we've acquired or merged with over the years on the same page? So that's been our work over the last several years as we've really tried to create a one supply chain mindset, end to end, with two very key focuses, cash and carbon. So.
Thank you. When you build resilience and agility across manufacturing, this is a priority for organizations, no? So is Diageo leading the way? And if so, how is Diageo leading the way?
I hope we're leading the way. If not, I hope we're being a great example. Again, from an overall strategy standpoint, I think Mike, you mentioned it starts with your people, right? They're going to be the core. That's kind of the engine of and the enabler to success. And what we've been able to do is really foster and challenge our team to, hey, get engaged. We've given them the room to engage and to make decisions, as well as we've challenged them and provided them with the tools to help them be successful. So again, focusing on our people, focusing on the tools that they have available to them to help them, again, make the ambiguous a bit clearer, right? So as you get into analytics and digitization, you're gonna use these tools to kind of open the aperture to help you make better decisions. And that's what we've challenged our teams to do. Look deep, gather those insights. We're in it as a team, not as a functional group. So end-to-end supply chain mindset is key. So we want folks to start first being business leaders, then transition into supply chain experts. So that's, again, the culture that we're trying to build, I think is gonna enable that engagement and ability, as well as the tools that we're leveraging and the culture holistically that we're trying to build to execute end to end.
I love the part of culture, and this is, I think, it's a thing that's very important for all of us here. What was the most difficult part on shaping this culture? Now you said that we have different cultures. It is hard to have one culture for one company. So what was the hardest thing and what are you doing about it?
I think the hardest thing is, getting the leadership team on the same page, right? Creating the culture from a leadership standpoint that we wanted to demonstrate, that we wanted to project, right? Because in order for culture to be developed, no matter if it's a good culture or a bad culture, it starts with the leadership. So I think it was very important that we all were, first of all, aligned with where we're trying to go. We had a very clear and vivid understanding of what success looks like. And then agreeing, again, I mentioned end-to-end supply chain execution. Whether it's my technical counterpart, my quality, my procurement counterpart, we're all in it together. We operate our end-to-end supply chain as a business, not as a functional, focus area based on our individual disciplines. So I think that set up the fertile grounds for our broader organization to really latch on, and it really, I think, accelerated their engagement.
And when you talk about this, moving to this mentality of end-to-end, I was in a forum last week, and they asked me, Douglas, do you go for cost, for cash, or for resilience? No, this is a tricky question. No, you go for everything. No, it's like asking which sibling you prefer, or do you like your mom or your dad? No, so there is no right answer here. No, what are you doing to instill this mentality of owning the end-to-end supply chain? Because sometimes it's just easy just to this is my part of the job. I don't care here, I don't care there. So what are you doing and what Diageo is doing to instill this end-to-end mentality?
Good question. And it goes back again to being business leaders, not supply chain leaders. So back again to cost and cash. As we make decisions throughout our end-to-end supply chain, what's the implication, right, from a cash standpoint and from a carbon standpoint? And I said cost and carbon. Actually, did I say cost and cash? Cost and carbon. How do our decisions impact the environment, but also how do our decisions impact our ability to deliver the expected outcomes for our investors, for our customers, and for our consumers. So it has to be a two-eye approach. We can't just block one eye. One eye's cost, the other's carbon. And we have to have a parallel, a very focused view as we make end-to-end decisions on both of those key areas.
So when I was in this forum last week, one thing that was surprising for me, that was very different groups of companies that were start figuring out how to move to this end-to-end view, and others that were, no, look, this is my role. No, so don't ask me about, and the conversation started with, am I accountable for case fill rate or the on-shelf availability, you know? And I said, absolutely, you own if the product's on shelf or not. Do you have any tip for this group on what have you done to move the needle? Because it's hard in the beginning, you know? So to have a culture, you have to have habits. Mm-hmm. And to have habits, you have to repeat and repeat and repeat and being consistent. Any tip that you can give for this audience?
Absolutely. I think, well, first of all, if I don't deliver case fill rate, or if procurement fails, or if our technical teams aren't successful, guess what? We all fail, right? So that's the first thing. We're all in this together. It doesn't matter who fails, because we're going to end up suffering the outcome as a group and as a team. So first and foremost, let's realize that, and let's look at it, our overall end-to-end business, again, as a business, not as a functional, activity. And, it's gonna take, guys, just simply some difficult conversations at times. You're not gonna agree. You just have to be willing, as a leadership team, to, accept feedback, be willing to give feedback, make it data-driven. As I tell folks, data doesn't have a face, right? So make it data-driven, so leverage your data, your insights, to lead to what that potential solution is gonna be. And one of the things we always say, the late Junior Bridgman, I don't know if you guys know or if have ever heard of Junior Bridgman, but I had the opportunity to help him start up a Coca-Cola franchise. And one of the things he said day one, he said, Ray, if you have a problem and you keep it to yourself, that's your problem. If you have a problem and you share it with the team, it's our problem. So I think really setting that, again, environment, that culture where, irregardless of where the problem resides, it's our problem as a team. So I always tell my team, yell quick and yell loud, because we want to be able to come in and support you right away. And I think, just simply not giving up, building those relationships, not being afraid of criticism, again, data-driven, don't make it personal. But again, being very clear too on where we're headed. What does the end of this journey look like in terms of the culture that we're trying to build?
Thank you, Ray. Before I go to the next questions here, any question for the audience? Don't be shy.
As folks think, I'll just kind of fill the space. I think this is a great opportunity as I, listen in. This is a great opportunity because companies are at different places in their journey, right? No matter where you are in your journey, I think this type of event allows you to kind of, help ease the pain, help reduce some of the challenges that you may have by learning from other organizations. So I would just like to thank you guys for, again, hosting this and providing this opportunity, because it's truly a big help.
Do you have a question? Okay. So how Diageo is effectively integrating long-term planning into its manufacturing operations to ensure future growth?
Good question there. Long-term planning, future growth. If you guys think about some of the products that we have, we may have a 10-year-old, bourbon. We may have 32-year-old whiskey. we've always had to look ahead from a planning and strategy standpoint, because we have to lay those liquids down 20 years ahead of time, 30 years ahead of time. And as I mentioned, the complexity, right? A Crown Royal whiskey is not one liquid. It's about 5 to 6 different liquids that are blended. Some of these liquids we only run one time a year, right? So we've always had that lens forward. Now, was it great? No. We've ended up with excesses and shortages, but I think from an overall DNA standpoint, that alone set us up to look forward. Our challenge was we weren't leveraging that skill and that muscle, and we were missing the pivot. So one thing we've done is we've, again, simplified our supply chain. We've taken more of a segmented approach at how we operate. So we have a spirits business. We have a ready-to-drink spirits business. We have a ready-to-serve spirits business, right? We have a non-alc business. So as we kind of look at the data, look at the insights, we're taking more of a 2-3 year approach. What does it look like as we look ahead? What are the consumer preferences as, we're kind of looking at the market trends and the dynamics, and we're leveraging our network to be able to pivot very quickly. So right now we're pivoting to more ready-to-drink and ready-to-serve products. We have that capability within our infrastructure, and guys, we'll go on production lines. I'll run PET, go right into glass, back into PET. I'll do a size change. So the other thing that I think is critical is, as you look at your infrastructure, how flexible can you make it so that you can really leverage that internal capability. So those are some of the things that we're doing.
So let me paraphrase to see if I understand correctly. You're taking the information from outside in on how consumers and how customers behave, and you're doing your segmentation to define how to have your lines for lines that will run for long runs and the ones that are more designed to be flexible and have more complexity.
Correct.
And have you done anything to have this capability to pivot fast? Because one thing is you design your network to cope with complexity or the signals that are changing in the demand. But the other one is, what are the capabilities that you have to be agile? Have you done anything on the internal capability to pivot quickly and do quick changeovers and be more agile?
Oh, absolutely. Again, looking at changeover, SMED techniques, looking at, I think a big driver that's really driven us to execute in that space is we've brought inventories way down. We've freed up working capital, right? So it's almost years ago, we would say, boy, it feels like I'm a vending machine, in terms of that's how our supply chain is designed. Well, now we're looking at, hey, we're building a 3D printer. So, hey, here's what the customer wants. Here's what the consumers want. Boom, let's program it and let's go. So that's kind of the mindset that we're kind of getting into now, right? Because things change so quickly. We have to pivot so quickly. And bringing inventory levels down, freeing up cash, allows us to, one, better invest faster, as well as it allows us to really, again, pivot and provide the customer with what they want very quickly. So because we now have the space and the asset capacity to be as flexible as we possibly can. So it's hard work, but it's fun work.
It is. Any question from the room? Yes, please, here. Can you bring the mic?
Thank you. Just building on that, I was curious also what your thoughts are on the flexibility part and with working capital on make to stock versus make to order. Are you choosing one or the other? Is it very flexible?
Well, let me kind of back up and just help the team in the room understand kind of our world. We work within a 3-tier system, right? So in the spirits business, I can't make it and sell it. So I have to make it and send it to a distributor for distribution. and then that distributor then sells it to the retailers. So, it's a little different go-to-market strategy than most because it's alcohol. But I don't have to use that same strategy for my non-alc business, right? So to answer your question, it's a bit of both. For my very established brands, I will create inventory because I have a very clear signal. I have somewhat of an understanding of what that demand looks like. For my ready-to-serves, my ready-to-drink type products, I'm having to really be flexible. I'm having to really invest in asset flexibility, education, looking at data and analytics, really doubling down on autonomous maintenance activities to make sure my systems are capable of running when I need them to run. And I think the other big focus area that we've learned that we've had to double down on, we had to look at our supplier base. And I've increased the diversity of my suppliers, across glass, across ingredients. Because again, even though my signal changed, these suppliers, they have a business to run as well. So I have to put myself in a position where I have the flexibility to go to different suppliers based on what their schedules are looking like, based on what their run strategies are looking like at the time, to allow me to be as flexible as possible. So what that means as a supply guy is I have a lot more variation to manage, right? Multiple suppliers, multiple ingredients. We want to make sure we manage inventory levels. So those are the areas that we've really focused on, and we're using a combination of make to order and holding a bit of inventory. Hopefully that answered your question.
Hi. Are you guys using any kind of AI technology or other technology that's you're leveraged on and that helps you find more efficiency or something like that?
Yes, we are. We're, matter of fact, I'll show a bit of a video at the end where my team's looking at using virtual reality, AI tools in the maintenance and operations space, using it for training. We're starting to leverage it as we look at planning to help with modeling. So very, from a digital standpoint, I'm excited. I mean, I think Diageo, they do a phenomenal job and they're very willing to invest in the digital space. And they really understand that is the future of where we're headed and the ability to be agile and flexible, right? Because, it's those companies that are going to survive aren't the ones that are big, strong, and robust and can just, kind of muscle their way through to success. The companies of the future that are going to be successful are those that are most quickly to adjust, pivot, and be agile, because things are just simply happening so quickly. You have to put yourself in a position to be flexible as possible. So short answer, yes, we're using all those tools. And focus on cybersecurity. Since we're doing all this, we got to put a cybersecurity plug out there. Got to protect your data.
Sorry, can't see you. I had a question about how you said that you build a flexible supply chain so that you're able to pivot quickly to consumer trends. What is it that triggers you to pivot away from a particular market, or especially when you've had to invest to be able to have the assets to be able to produce? What causes you to think, hey, let's get away from this market and start investing into others? Good question.
So one, I did not mention, having a third party, network. So part of a lot of what we do, we leverage third party contractors, right, to help us kind of learn at a small scale. Then we scale up based on how that product or how that innovation does in the market. So that's one tool. The other tool is, again, managing the inventory. If I don't have a bunch of inventory tied up, right, into the the decision that I'm gonna have to write off is gonna make it much easier for me to pivot. So I mentioned earlier, we've really brought our inventory levels down. We're really sweating our assets in terms of capacity, in terms of changeover. We've, again, increased our supplier menu of suppliers, right, to allow us to be flexible on the manufacturing side. So all of those pieces kind of work together to allow that flexibility and that ability to pivot very quickly without tying up a lot of working capital.
There was a question here in the fourth row here, the gentleman.
Great, Raymond, thanks for taking the question.
Sure.
What are the core supply chain technology categories that you guys are truly assessing? I know there's always edge categories, there's always AI, but categorically speaking, on the technology front, what's most critical to the business right now?
Sure. One big area we've invested in heavily is Red Zone. I don't know if you guys have heard of Red Zone. This is allowing us to really allow our frontline and our operations teams, right, to collaborate real time. I've had situations where Red Zone, my team members are literally collaborating with the OEM out at a piece of equipment that they're having challenges with, and they're literally doing this, real time troubleshooting. OEM's not even there, and working through issues. Another tool that we've leveraged is we call it Skynet. This is our ability, this gives us the ability really to look at our infrastructure from a sustainability standpoint, water, sewer, energy, and then ultimately overall, what's our overall carbon impact. So this syncs up all of our sites across the network and globally to allow us to quickly learn in terms of any deviations right in our processes, but also quickly reapply and assess the benefits. And finally, looking at some technology within the Rockwell family of tools that will allow us to further enhance Red Zone, but also give us a bit deeper insights into our asset utilization, asset performances at the specific work center PLC level of operation. So that's just a few examples.
Ray, I like what you said about the focus on both cash and carbon. To me, that implies that you guys have figured out a way to value carbon and evaluate projects for carbon reduction strategies that may not clear traditional financial ROI hurdles. Can you give any kind of insights on how, as an organization, you guys have valued carbon reduction beyond traditional ROI?
A big driver for us, you look at really the front end of our process, right? Heavy grain. All of our whiskeys and our bourbons go into barrels, which is wood, and the wood comes from the forest. So we're heavily invested in the environment because it has such a close tie to our operation. So that's one driver and one example of why we take that focused approach. Another is, it's part of our DNA. We built that into our culture, right? I think when we were talking a few months ago, we talked about some of the sustainability projects in terms of how we've tuned our boilers in Africa to burn excess waste from other industries in their agricultural network. It was seeds and wood chips and what have you that they've been sent into the landfill. We've tuned our boilers to burn that and mitigate that. So again, and create energy. So it's built into our DNA as well, because we want to ensure that we're here to be able to service our customers and consumers, but we want to do that in a very, very respectful, very, very responsible way. So everything we look at, again, cash, carbon, and what's the impact of our business on the environment.
Great session. I want to get a little bit tactical with you here, which is what's something that you're most excited about that you're going to complete in the next 12 months? Could be initiative, could be a process, could be a project that you believe is going to have the biggest impact on the Diageo supply chain over the next 5 years?
Oh, good question. Easy answer. Opening up a new investment. I'll say it that way. Opening up a new investment that, again, has been part of our supply chain transformation journey, right? During the session several months ago, I talked about one of our distilleries, which literally is zero touch, right? So 9 people run this distillery. It's one of my bullet bourbon facilities in Kentucky. And when I say zero touch, I mean zero touch. And as we talked about investing in our people and then the workforce of the future and the factories of the future, right? We're working on that right now because we know if we don't figure that out now, we'll be behind the 8 ball. So we've already developed a distillery in terms of the factory of the future, and we've benchmarked it across Diageo. It is truly the most advanced. I mean, again, zero touch, and it really fits the mindset and the desires of the workforce of today. I mean, we have a very digitally savvy population coming up, right? Nobody wants to roll around barrels. Nobody wants to, go into a factory and, build muscles. No, they want to use their mind. They want to build this muscle. And we've been able to do that. So now, within the next year, I'll have that same process in a packaging facility. So, because as you know, process and packaging tends to be a lot different, but we're literally focused on a zero-touch package facility, and we'll be starting that up within the next 18 months. Very excited about that.
Great question. We have time for 1 or 2 more questions, and then we have a video here.
Very interesting that you talked about zero-touch manufacturing. I love that you indicated that you're looking for integration for Rockwell into your machines to collect that data. The zero-touch piece, it sounds like you're going to packaging next. Have you looked at warehouse and distribution and the use of AMRs to be able to scale and also counterbalance the reduction in force from aging out of the workforce in those jobs? Can you give an example of using that in your network?
Absolutely. You'll see it on the video where we're leveraging AGVs, right, for material handling, for warehousing, and also taking raw materials to the lines, right? So we're really, I'm super excited about this because one, as I mentioned, it's been a mindset shift for our total organization because, we have our traditional factories within the network, but when we took this challenge and said we want this to be the factory of the future from the packaging side of things, and we're modeling it after our distillery, it became real exciting. Matter of fact, I told the team, guys, I don't even want to see anybody riding a lawnmower. I want a robot cutting the grass and trimming it. I mean, because again, if we're going to say this is state of the art, I want it state of the art from A to Z. Super excited, and yes, we're leveraging technology on the material handling, on the warehousing. Part of the distillation piece, I'm also responsible for maturation. So, automated barrel warehousing, right? That's all part of it. Getting into, we're looking at sampling. When a barrel is in the warehouse for 15 years, it doesn't just sit there untouched. We sample that liquid to see how it's maturing. So typically people do that. Why can't I have a robot or some type of automation? I'll pull 50,000 samples a year across the warehouses. So I can have people doing more higher level more strategic initiatives versus going to pull liquid out of a barrel. So that's how we're looking.
This is a great invitation for us to see what we have to here to share. If you can share the video from Diageo. And we can stay here for hours and hours.
So if I can just set this up. So talking about cash and carbon. So this is a cash approach that we've taken. My team did this video themselves. We did not go outside of the four walls of our organization. Challenged the team, say, hey, let's start to pull together a video that shows our automation journey. And I let them go, and this is what they shared. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. All right.
As I mentioned, no, this is a guy that's bringing a lot of future thinking for the industry. Thanks, Ray.
Totally the team. I can't take all the credit, guys.
Make sure that you connect with Ray. Ray was someone that I met last year. We had this session and then became a friend. Thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you, Doug. Pleasure.
Thank you.